So as I said, we don't always have the equation in a already rearranged, right? So sometimes they give you an equation with two or multiple variables, and they ask you to arrange for a certain variable to solve for a certain variable. And this is where we have to do BEDMAS in the reverse, and we have to do opposite operation. You've heard me say that too many times, right? When you're isolating for a letter, you're moving things from one side to the other using opposite operation, and then you're doing reverse BEDMAS. Anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about? I'm sure you've heard me say it too many times, right? All right. So, what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. Opposite of subtraction? Multiplication. Multiplication. Division. Division. Square. Square root. What's the opposite of square root? What's the opposite of cube? Cube root. Okay? So you're always doing the opposite operation. All right? Now, for each example, isolate for the letter P. So what do I have to do here?
A minus 1.
A minus, that's a letter I, yeah. A minus P. So I'm moving the I over. I know it looks like 1. I'm moving the I over, and then because it's an addition, when I move it over, it becomes a subtraction. Easy, easy. How about the next one?
A divided by 2.
Divide by 2 both sides, right? So that's going to be A over 2 equals P. Square root, that's right. So in this case, I am looking for just P, so I have to square root both sides, and that gives me square root of A equals P. Now for the next one, what do I have to move first?
The I.
The I, right? Because remember, BEDMAS, backward, right? So if I'm solving this, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add I. But in this case, when I'm isolating, the first thing I'm going to isolate is I. Anyone doesn't know what I'm saying? We're okay? So it's A minus I equals 2P squared. Then divide by 2. So I have A minus I divided by 2 equals P squared. Square root the whole thing. Make sure that when you're writing it, I want to make sure that what I see is what you mean, right? If you're square rooting the whole thing, that square root has to cover the whole thing, okay? If you're writing this, or whatever you're writing, how would I know what's square rooted and what's not square rooted? What's under, what's not under? You have to make sure that what you're writing is actually what you mean. Otherwise, that's wrong. Okay? So you see how my square root is covering my denominator? It's covering my whole top equation. Are we okay with that? Yes?
You have to put the 2 into the bracket.
You can. You don't have to.
Just move the 2 over.
Move the 2 over, right? Instead of doing a distribution and then do too many steps, the easiest thing is because 2 is multiplied by the bracket, you want to move it over first, right? So that will be C divided by 2. We are isolating for B, by the way, okay? Then that equals to B minus N.
C over 2 plus N.
C over 2 plus N equals B. How about the next one?
Bring the 2 over.
No, because it's not under the whole thing. Okay? So in this case, first of all, the brackets, they mean nothing. I don't even need them, right? So in this case, if I'm going to evaluate this, I'm going to do B over 2 first, then I'm going to subtract N, right? So when I'm isolating, the first thing I want to get rid of is the N. Yeah. Now, there is a difference between, eyes on me for a second, don't write this. There is a difference between this multiplication because the whole thing is divided by 2. Okay? So in this case, my BADMAS, reverse BADMAS tells me I have to bring the negative n over as a plus n. And then
Times 2.
times 2. So you're going to have to multiply the whole side by 2. That's a plus n. How about the next one?
Square root of C.
Square root first. Yeah. And then
Plus n.
plus n, right? So when I do this, I have to make sure that the plus n is clearly not under the square root. Okay? Make sense? Even in your calculator, when you enter the values in the calculator, you have to make sure that your plus n is not inside the bracket. So when I do, like, let's say C is 10 and n is 5, whatever, right? So when you enter it in the calculator, you have to make sure that it's not under the square root. All right, how about the next one? What do I want to get rid of first? The 2 that's multiplied outside, right? Because that's the last thing I want to do. Usually when I'm doing BADMAS, first thing I'm going to do is the division inside the bracket. Then I'm going to subtract the n so I can simplify the bracket. Then I'm going to do the exponent. Then I'm going to do the multiplication. Okay? But now, when I want to get rid of it, the first thing I want to get rid of is the multiplication. So that's going to become a division by 2. Then what do I do after that?
Square root.
Square root. Make sure that your C over 2 is all under the square root. Then
The n.
bring the n over as a addition. Then
Multiply by 2.
multiply the whole thing by 2, so you're going to have to put it in bracket. Then you have to make sure that you're multiplying by 2. Okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to try example number 1 and example number 2, see what you can get, and I will take them up. I also want you to think about what if I want you to isolate for F, okay? So if I give you, well actually it's asking you to, determine a formula to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius, so isolate for F, okay? So I want you to try this